Welcome back to the Timeless Watch channel, guys. So this week I'm going to talk about the Omega Seamaster 300M, the diver watch. Hey guys, so the Omega Seamaster 300M is a watch that kind of resonates with me, and for the main reason being that it was kind of my first watch, my first luxury watch. I've actually seen a few other people online saying the same thing, that the Seamaster was the kind of gateway drug. It was the kind of first watch that they spent more than $100 on, and from there it was all downhill, you know, the rest is history. The Seamaster was kind of got me into this kind of thing. When you're getting into watch collecting, luxury watch collecting, it's very daunting at first. I don't think many people start at a $10,000, $20,000 watch. I think that's probably seems like crazy money for a first watch, and I think people slowly edge their way in. I think a lot of people bought maybe an Apple Watch or a Tissot or a Swatch or something like that, and it kind of got them noticing watches, and then they started spotting more beautiful watches like Breitling and Omega, and then of course up there on top of the hill are the greats like, of course, Rolex and Patek Philippe and Vacheron and so on. But it's a kind of a slow build. You get into this stuff very slowly, which I relate to because I'm originally a musician. That's what I've done my entire life. And, you know, my first bass guitar when I was younger was $100 bass. You know, it's something I would never even touch these days, only for sentimental value maybe, but not, I would never play it. But you have to start somewhere, and then you kind of dream of getting that dream instrument later on. And you know, luckily for me, my musical career was pretty good, and I went forward and got better and better instruments until I kind of arrived at my holy grail, which is a Rickenbacker 4001. I was actually got a quite, you know, all things considered, I actually wound up at kind of the end of the rainbow pretty early, whereas the watch thing came much later on in my life. It was a lot of money to spend on a watch because I'd never spent that kind of money on a wristwatch before. Now looking back, it's not really much at all, considering the amount of money a person can spend on some of these watches. Some of them are outrageous, but I think it's a very solid buy. And if I was offered another one tomorrow with some features on it I liked, I would buy it. I think they're a solid watch. I don't know why they don't go up crazy money like the Submariners do and so on. The first one I got is a 1993 one. It's the original kind of Bond one with the blue dial and the blue bezel, and it's just a classic, and I still love it. It just has something about it that is timeless. It truly is. And I was lucky enough, I had no idea, but I was lucky enough to get kind of the first automatic one that exists. When I bought it, I didn't know very much about watches. I was just getting into it. I bought it for like $1,500 or something on eBay, and no papers, no box, no nothing. In fact, I drove myself crazy for the first few weeks just trying to figure out, was it real or not. I had a terrible paranoia that it could be a fake, because all I could see online were people saying, be careful not to buy a fake, you know. So it kind of makes you a little bit paranoid. The truth of the matter is, now that time has gone by and I've bought and sold a lot of watches, is that the fakes, they're out there, but they're few and far between. I would say you have a 1 in 100 chance of being ripped off by someone trying to pass a fake off as a real watch. It certainly happens, but of course we hear those horror stories more than we hear the success stories. I think most people who buy a watch on eBay or Chrono are probably buying a genuine watch, even if it has no papers and no box. You know, a lot of things in your house, guys, you've thrown away the box and you've thrown away the receipt a long time ago, and there's no chance you would ever have those. So don't be surprised if you find someone with a watch that they don't know where the box is. It's stuffed away with something else. and they've no idea where the card or the receipt or whatever is for it. I mean, that's not, these days it's more unusual because now it's all about keeping the card in the box for resale value, especially in the Rolex world. Forget about it. But I think back in 1993, I don't know if people were thinking about that much. So it's not unusual to come across a watch on eBay that doesn't have box or papers, but just try to check out the person you're buying from. Obviously you're covered by eBay. If you get the watch and you bring it to a watch mender or a store and you say, hey, can you eyeball this watch for me? I'll give you $20 for your time. And they take a look at it. Most people won't even accept any money. You know, these guys, this is their living. They take a look at watches all day, and it's easy for them to eyeball a watch for like 2 minutes and tell you if it looks good or not. If it turns out to not be, if it turns out to be a fake in the end. With eBay in particular, it's very easy to get your money back. It's very easy to open a case against them or ask for a return. In fact, a lot of people sell watches online or on eBay in particular, have a 30-day return policy on it helps them sell the watch. People feel safer buying it when they see that there's a returns period, which of course people could abuse if they wanted to, and that's a shame. You know, you could buy a fancy watch, wear it at a wedding or something, and then send it back the following week pretending there's some problem with the watch or whatever. And if you're one of those people, please stop watching this video and just go and stick your head in the oven or something. You're a lousy piece of shit. In the end, my watch was perfectly real. There was nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I mean, eventually I calmed down and I realized, and that kind of got me into the details. That kind of kick-started my kind of obsession with the details about these watches. Was trying to figure out if this watch was the real McCoy or not. I don't know, ever since then it's always been kind of my go-to straightforward watch. I didn't spend too much money on it, but yet it has a lot of power and presence about it, and whenever I see one in the wild, it makes me smile. I see a guy with a Seamaster 300M. It's cool. I know what the guy's thinking, you know. I'm not a huge Bond fan, but I'm kind of a fan of anybody who wears a watch kind of with the intent of making you notice the watch. I recently saw The American with George Clooney, and he has that Speedy on in pretty much every scene. It gets as much camera time as he does in the movie, and it's, you know, at the moment after I watched that, I ran to my Speedmaster and put it on because I just was like, it's so beautiful. I've got a whole new appreciation for it now. So the Bond thing was definitely there. I know it's a bit cheesy, and I know they used it in a kind of a cheesy way in the Pierce Brosnan movies, kind of making the watch do all these fantastic things when in the end it's just a watch. But it really kind of was one of the first times I ever saw a watch be kind of a star in a movie, or kind of have a place in the frame of the movie. That model lasted from 1993 to 2007, I believe, 2006, 2007, when Omega made a move that Rolex were doing too. They were moving over to ceramic bezels because they scratch. It's much harder to scratch them. They scratch a lot less. And they made some changes in the design on that one. They removed the wave on the dial, which I think was such an idiotic move for Omega to make. I mean, that was their signature on this watch, was that beautiful wave dial. They removed it and just went for the plain black. I think they're staring way too much over the garden fence at Rolex. I think Omega need to stop doing that. Or maybe they need to do it in different ways, like their marketing and, you know, releasing too many editions of different watches and so on. Maybe they should take a different leaf out of Rolex's book, and maybe they could sell their watches for the kind of money that Rolex sell them for, because they're every bit as good as far as their build and so on. I'm convinced. I got one of those ceramic ones and I didn't like it as much. They look excellent in the photographs, but I did not like it as much when I saw it in person, so I actually sold it on pretty quickly. Now, just last year, at the end of last year, Omega released a brand new version of the 300M, of the Seamaster, and they brought back some of the original things, the original aesthetic features of the original one, and they added a lot of new stuff and changed a lot of other stuff. So I have both, and I'm going to put them side by side so you can see in the flesh, you can see exactly what the differences are. I also wore them around the piazza here and put them side by side by my coffee, so you can take a look at that too. And the Piazza di Signori, bellissimo. Check it out.